would like to share with you the poem, a sonnet, High Flight. But first, a little bit about the author. John Gillespie McGee Jr. He was born in Shanghai, China. Both of his parents were Anglican missionaries. His father was American. He was a Episcopalian priest, and his mother was from Great Britain. And so when he was growing up, they decided to do his schooling, kind of high school years, in Great Britain. And at the end of his third year of schooling, they chose to take a trip to Martha's Vineyard, McGee and his mom. And that was around the time of the outbreak of World War II. Now, McGee was born in 1922. So it was 1939 that he finds himself in the United States and unable to go back to Great Britain to finish his schooling. So he's there, and he spends his last year of school at the Avon Old Farm School in Avon, Connecticut. In that year of school, he was a very social young man. He was 18 years old, so he had a lot of girls after him. And the story goes, his father was getting after him, saying, "Son, this is no way to live, turning night into day." And John supposedly said back to his father, "My generation does not expect to live long, and we want to enjoy ourselves while we may." So an interesting time to be a young man and alive. Another story goes, the headmaster of that Connecticut school recalls, one afternoon after lying on top of the tower at the school for a couple of hours in the sun, McGee said to a companion, "I think I'd like to join the RAF." And so after discussions with his parents, he decided to go to Canada to join the Royal Canadian Air Force with the intention of learning how to fly and becoming a pilot. And ultimately, he wanted to go to be a pilot and to fly in Britain to protect his friends. It was at the same time he was also awarded a scholarship to attend Yale University from 1940 to 1941. And he turned that down instead to go be a fighter pilot. And so at the age of 19, McGee wrote the poem High Flight in 1941 while he was training as a Spitfire pilot in the UK. And so the specific experience that inspired this sonnet was when he was flying at 30,000 feet. And he was experiencing the joy of flight, just the awe and wonder of being at that height and the sublime peace in the sky. So after his flight, he is reported to have sent this poem, to his parents in September of 1941, saying, "I am enclosing a verse I wrote the other day. It started at 30,000 feet and was finished soon after I landed." And so the poem then was published in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette in November of 1941. Unfortunately and very sadly, only a few months after he wrote the poem, in December, so December 11th, 1941, McGee was killed when returning to base during a training exercise when his Spitfire collided with another aircraft, resulting in his death and the death of the other pilot in that accident. So, extremely tragic event. McGee's family goes on to push to get his poem published professionally, not just in the newspaper. And once they succeeded, John Gillespie McGee becomes an American one-hit wonder for that poem. High Flight is still one of the best-known poems of World War II. Since then, it has become the official poem of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Astronaut Michael Collins carried a copy of the poem into space on the Gemini 10 mission in 1966. President Ronald Reagan read the poem in his speech after the Challenger space shuttle disaster in 1986. And cadets at the United States Air Force are required to recite the poem from memory. It's also been in numerous American, United States Air Force films. And so I would like to read that poem for you now. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor even eagle flew. And while, with silent, lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. So just absolutely beautiful. His reference to God there when he's in space, looking back at Earth from 30,000 feet. He was raised by an Episcopalian priest and a missionary family, so obviously a faith-filled home. Just absolutely beautiful. So I hope you enjoy the song when the choir sings it on Sunday. Bye-bye.